What do you want to be when you grow up? It's a question every child hears a dozen times before they finish middle school. But the logic behind that question assumes that becoming is something you eventually finish. It suggests a path where you study, you find a role, and then you simply stop, as if a job title is a permanent destination where the growth ends by working-class families. Her father, Fraser, worked at the city water plant every single day, despite the advancing stages of multiple sclerosis. She showed her that the value of work wasn't found in a grand title, but in the quiet, relentless act of showing up. Her foundation wasn't built on a dream of fame or power, but on a specific kind of internal discipline that made no excuses for the circumstances she was born into. That discipline was tested in high school. When Michelle told her counselor she wanted to apply to Princeton, she was told she simply wasn't Princeton material. That dismissal followed her for years, creating a persistent pressure to prove her worth in every room she entered. Rather than retreating, she used that doubt as evidence that she needed to work harder than everyone else. She ignored the advice, applied anyway, and earned her place at Princeton. After Princeton, she moved even further up the traditional ladder, completing her degree at Harvard Law School. Soon, she reached what appeared to be the summit of her field, a position as a high-earning corporate lawyer at a prestigious firm in downtown Chicago. By every metric her younger self would have understood, she had reached the destination. But inside that office, the feeling of accomplishment was missing. She had ticked every box on the list, but she found herself working for a paycheck and a prestige that didn't actually interest her. Ticking off society's expectations doesn't guarantee fulfillment. The idea that there is a single point where you have finally made it is often just a trap that keeps you from finding work that matters. Her rigid career path shifted when she was assigned to mentor a summer associate named Barack Obama. He was different. He seemed entirely unconcerned with the status of a law firm or the traditional markers of success. He spoke about community organizing and social impact with a clarity that made Michelle realize she didn't share his passion for the law. She saw a massive gap between the work she was doing and the person she wanted to be. Michelle decided to leave the security of the firm. She traded the stability of a high corporate salary for a path more aligned with her values. She joined the mayor's office and launched Public Allies, a nonprofit for young leaders. The reward was the visible impact in her community. Career growth isn't always about climbing a single ladder. It's about having the courage to step off one that leads nowhere, to find a path that actually means something to you. Their partnership was tested as Barack's political career took off. The higher he rose, from the State House to the U.S. Senate, the more time he spent away from Chicago, pursuing a vision that required his constant presence elsewhere. Michelle stayed behind, balancing a demanding role as a hospital executive while managing the household and raising 2 young daughters. She was often doing it all alone, while his world expanded and hers felt increasingly strained. The pressure eventually drove them to seek marriage counseling. It was a space where they had to confront the reality that their path together was not going to be effortless or naturally balanced. Through those sessions, she realized she had been waiting for Barack to change his life to make her happy. She had to learn to build her own sense of contentment and her own schedule, independent of his presence. A partnership only works when both people maintain their own center. It's about finding a way to grow together without losing the individual person you were when you started. The 2008 presidential campaign pushed Michelle into a world of constant observation. Suddenly, her life was no longer private. Every word and facial expression was analyzed by a global audience. She faced a targeted kind of scrutiny, with media outlets often falling back on racial stereotypes to characterize her as angry or unpatriotic. She refused to shrink or become bitter. She decided that if people were going to watch her, they would see her authentic self. She leaned into her own story, famously telling the public that when others choose to go low, we go high. When others try to define you using their own biases, the most effective response is to double down on who you actually are. When she entered the White House as First Lady, she knew she wouldn't be content as a silent figurehead in the background. She utilized the national platform to lead major initiatives, from childhood health to global education for girls. She proved that the role of First Lady could be whatever she was brave enough to make it. The answer to that childhood question, what do you want to be, isn't a single job title. It is a continuous process that doesn't stop once you grow up. Becoming means embracing your roots, ignoring the people who say you aren't enough, and being brave enough to change your path when it no longer fits. It means protecting your own voice, even when you are standing in a massive shadow. Life is not about reaching a final destination. It is an ongoing evolution, and the moment you think you've finished becoming is the moment you stop truly living.